Hello and welcome to 1874. It's time for a full-time review of Aston Villa 3, Brentford 1 at Villa Park last night. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Sky Sports News' David Reed to look back on said game. And this show is, of course, sponsored by Luke Roper. If you want to get 20% off everything that Luke have to offer, then use the code TVV20 and you'll get 20% off, including their lovely new stuff that's come out recently. Always bringing out new stuff, to be fair, the team at Luke Roper, but there is some particularly nice stuff out there at the moment. So use our code, buy your Christmas presents, TVV20, and you'll get 20% off. David, been a while since we got to do any form of show talking about Aston Villa victories. So this is a nice feeling today, this lunchtime.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it was a really, I thought it was solid, not necessarily spectacular, but it was a result that was needed. I know Tyrone Mings talked after the game around, do you want a performance? Do you want a result? I think we got a little, mostly a performance, but the most important thing was a result. I thought it was just vital that Villa got the 3 points and changed the kind of narrative around the team at the moment and around how they're playing. So really important just to get the 3 points. I thought they were, good in parts, things that can be improved on, but overall solid performance, great result.
Yeah, I'll give Villa credit. I thought they played some nice stuff last night. I thought unlucky not to have scored more than 3. Disappointed to concede a little bit, but like you say, the result is the king. That's the most important thing here. Billy Biff says, I know Brentford didn't offer much going forward, but Mings and Conser at the back felt much more reassuring. I must say, I think you've got to find a way to get Pau Torres in the team for most games, and I think it was probably more of a rotation / rest last night than being dropped or anything like that. But it did feel like a bit like putting on an old comfy pair of shoes last night, having Conser and Mings in as the centre-back partnership, Dave.
Yeah, nice bit of old knitwear that you've kind of forgotten about that's in your wardrobe, and you put it on.
Just a few might drag out for a January transfer show. It felt a bit like that, Dave.
But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you could ever class it as Pau Torres being dropped. I think it was rest and rotation, and I think maybe ahead of the game, I think there might have been a few supporters looking at Tyrone Mings and wondering what kind of performance, what kind of level of performance he was going to put in. I thought he was okay against Bruges, but the headline is obviously the kind of strange error that we saw from him in that game. So I think some Villa fans could be forgiven for wondering what kind of level of performance he would put in, but I thought he was outstanding from start to finish. He's showed his organisational skills, shown his leadership skills, showed his communication skills, showed how good he is at box defending, shows that he can pass the ball. And people talk about, Pau Torres is better on the ball. I don't think we should kind of rewrite history here. Tyrone Mings is very good on the ball. It's just Pau Torres is a kind of different level, elite ball playing centre back. So I don't think Villa fans should forget how good he was in that run to get Villa Conference League qualification in the first few months of the Unai Emery era. And I think he showed all of that skill set last night. And you just hope now that he's able to build on that and he will get more minutes at some point down the line. And it's up to him to take that. He certainly took his opportunity last night.
Yeah, Tom says here, certain games may suit Mings. Actually, if you think about the opposition last night, it did feel kind of the perfect game to have him back in and give him a chance. Brentford are capable of going direct. They're a team that's very capable from set plays as well. And they've got pace in transition. Mings is obviously quite quick, probably one of the quicker of our 4 centre-backs up there with Conser in the top 2 for pace in the centre-backs. It was the basics of defending I was impressed with, especially in the second half. He made some good blocks, some good headers. He just kind of gets himself in the right place, and he's such a man mountain and such a physical presence. You can't help but think, even if you go back to last season, Villa didn't really have that profile of defender, and they don't have that profile of centre back without Tyrone Mings playing. So this might become a regular thing. I think in certain games, there's definitely a case for playing Mings, and Emery's kind of said himself as well. There might be games where he plays all 4 of the centre backs. There might be games where he plays Pau Torres as a left back and puts Mings and Conser there, and he becomes a back 3, and Mings is in the middle of that back 3. I think he really showed his class last night, how important he is. 90 minutes in the Premier League as well. He's not done that for a very, very long time now, Tyrone Mings. I think even his biggest detractors, and there still will be some, I think even they'd have to look at last night and say that was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and I think he wasn't trying to be anyone else other than Tyrone Mings either. I think, when you come into the team for a player like Pau Torres, maybe he would have been tempted to play the extra ball or try and show his ball carrying or ball playing skills. But he went in there and was the very best version of himself. And I think he's the most natural of Aston Villa's centre-backs at being aggressive in the challenge. I think Pau Torres, if there's anything to detract from him, it's probably his physicality. Ezri Konsa, like he's more of a cover defender rather than aggressive ball-winning centre-back. So I think Tyrone Mings is probably the most natural, and I include Diego Carlos in that as an Aston Villa centre-back that's front foot, aggressive, likes to win the ball in the air, but also read the game and try and nip in front of players to pinch the ball rather than a kind of let the striker have it and take on the situation from there kind of centre back. So yeah, I think he was just the very best version of himself, and it reminds you, that he is an England international. I think they said it on the Prime commentary last night that he is, an England international. Was very good when he was called upon by Gareth Southgate, and he is a top defender. And now it's about Unai Emery having the options of when and if to rotate and bring Tyrone Mings back into the first 11.
It's that leadership as well. It just felt like a game where we needed his leadership. And outfield wise, I just don't think we have another leader like him, someone who communicates as well as him and leads from the back, can see the whole pitch in front of them. I just think that kind of stuff, when you're in a bad run like we were in as well, where it'd been 8 games without any kind of victory, I think those kind of things are important. And I think I feel like Jacob knew, because he kind of alluded to it the preview show that Jacob and I did. He said he thought Mings would play, which tells me he knew. He's not going to get that past me. But I think it's a bit of a masterstroke from Emery putting him in for that game, because we were desperate for something. And the good thing was we were desperate for something. We got it, but it wasn't just like, let's grind out a win here. There was some good football again from the attacking side of Aston Villa as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't all about, we're talking a lot about Tyrone Mings here, but by no means was it a defensive performance from Aston Villa last night. It was a performance full of attacking intent, attacking verve. And I think a lot of those players showed what they're really capable of. And you talk about leadership there. I think, there's different kinds of leadership. There's the communication style that Tyrone Mings brings to the table. There's John McGinn's leadership style, where he will set the tempo, and other players therefore follow him for his physical output. I would say, not necessarily one of the biggest motivators within the squad, John McGinn, but he leads in a different way. And then there's the sheer aura of the leadership of someone like Emiliano Martinez, who leads.
We need to give him some credit as well for last night playing.
Yeah, exactly, and playing through the pain. And he's not the first one. He's not the first one to play through the pain for Aston Villa under Unai Emery. So it shows, his commitment to the game, his commitment to the form of Aston Villa. But again, not only him, we've had you could reel off a list of players who over the last couple of years have played through the pain barrier for Aston Villa, and it shows just what a strong, tight group this really is.
Yeah, and important to go ahead last night as well amongst this bad run. Have we even gone ahead in a game? I'm not sure that we have since that Bournemouth 1-1. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but it felt important to go ahead, because going behind to Brentford, it could have got frustrating at Villa Park. The crowd could have perhaps turned and got frustrated themselves, which makes it a difficult place to play. Just to go 1-up in a game again, that felt quite crucial and quite big to actually get in the win last night. It used to be that you weren't worried if we went behind. You think we'd get back. There's no doubt over the last 8 games, if we've gone behind, I have been worried, and I've not felt like we were going to get back.
And actually, the overall feeling under Unai Emery has been Aston Villa have been very good front runners. When they go ahead, they're very capable of managing the game. So you're right. It was great for Villa to be going ahead in the game and then being able to manage it from that point onwards. I think they started the game probably with a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, edgy.
And I think there were signs there that perhaps things aren't still at the very, very top level that we saw last season. I think there was still a few errors in build-up that maybe those will be ironed out with a little bit more confidence. But overall, I think it was very good for Villa to go ahead and then to press on. And then in the second half in particular, to manage the game from there, because when Brentford got the goal back, you were in the ground and were able to get the feeling. So was there a feeling that there might be a little bit of a problem coming, or was there a feeling that Villa would be able to manage the game there?
Yeah, DJ Rozza, our only Twitch watcher, has actually left a comment. I still don't really know what Twitch is. It's more for gaming, I believe. My gaming days seem to be behind me at the moment, unfortunately. But DJ Rozza said we went ahead at Spurs, so I knew I'd be forgetting something. I knew that we'd have gone ahead at some other point other than the Bournemouth game. So Rodgers, lovely finish. He's been not taking criticism because I don't think it's fair to criticise anyone at the moment when it's a collective thing. Nice goal. I want to talk more about the second goal and the penalty. Thought Watkins did a good job with the direct balls last night. He unsettled Brentford's front two. I thought Pinnock and Collins had a difficult time up against him. I thought he got at them really, really well. Obviously, he won the penalty as well. I thought it should have been a red card. And before anyone tries to correct me about the rules, I know the rules. So if he'd have made an attempt to play the ball, then absolutely, even though you brought him down in your last man, it's a yellow card. But for me, he didn't really make an attempt to play the ball. Therefore, it possibly should have been a red card, David.
Yeah, possibly. I think it's strict liability as well. Whether, I don't think he meant to tangle with him or bring him down. I don't think it was deliberate, but yeah, strict liability is probably, it doesn't matter whether you intended to foul or not. If it's a denial of a goal scoring opportunity. So it's a case of whether the referee thought perhaps Pinnock was trying to get around him or move his body to move around Watkins in order to then make a challenge on the ball. But that's very subjective and very almost thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of the action that actually unfolded on the pitch. So I think, look, I don't want to see players getting sent off really. So I'm quite comfortable with the yellow card for that. But given the form that Villa were in, I'm sure they would have taken a red card for the opposition last night.
Yeah, David Reid towing the company line there. Everyone's friend, isn't he? Dave Reid, man of the people, wants to be everyone's friend. Look, I completely see what you're saying. To be fair, but at the time at the ground, I really thought it should be a red card. But there we go. It was penalty. It was given as a. Oh, here we go. Someone knows the rules better than me. Mark Mountford. It would have been a red card if the foul was given outside of the area, yellow card and a penalty in the box. I think he might be right. I don't know the rules as well as I thought I did. I think that might be correct. Well done, Mark Mountford, another man of the people. He's completely right there. So okay, fair enough. I retract what I said. It shouldn't have been a red card. Shouldn't have been a red card at all. Third goal as well. Nice to go 3 up in the first half. No, let's talk about the penalty first. Actually, I love Ollie Watkins. I think he's very good at a lot of things. But he does not fill me with confidence when he's running up to take penalties. A little bit of a new technique last night with the kind of stutter. Probably Flecken will be disappointed he didn't save that one.
I think the Brentford goalkeeper will look back on that and think that was a missed opportunity to save a Premier League penalty. Yeah, it didn't. I think he knew as well after that. You could tell in the celebration that Watkins was a little bit relieved that ended up going in the back of the net. So does that mean that Villa have a problem with penalties? I'm not quite thinking down that route just yet.
We don't have the reliability factor for me that we had with. I know Luiz missed one in the Conference League, but he must have scored 6 or 7 in a row before that, and I always felt very confident when he was stepping up. I've not felt that with the 2 pens that we've had this season.
No, but we've not exactly had a flood of penalties.
Good to be getting pens again, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, very nice.
Attacking and getting penalties.
Yeah, very nice. My thought would be that Watkins will get the next one. So I think we have to stick with that. And whether it's a new technique, how that develops over time, and we see how he improves on that.
My thoughts are John Duran is number 1 penalty taker, but obviously he's not on the pitch all the time. But I think if Duran was on the pitch and Watkins was on the pitch, is wild speculation on my behalf. I think John Duran would take it.
Well, this is my thoughts in general on penalties. I think it should be the cleanest ball striker that you have taking penalties. Someone who has got the most reliable technique within the first.
I say that, but I'll put that down as Tillemans, and I obviously missed.
Yeah, I know, but I always think that doesn't mean that he's not going to take a penalty again for Villa. I think he probably will take a penalty again for Villa. So that would be my thought. Someone whose technique will stand up under the pressure of a penalty. I also thought that Watkins used a little bit of the England technique as well, because he took very much a couple of big deep breaths, and then there was the referee's whistle, and then there was that 5-second wait between the whistle and him taking the penalty. There was no rushing as soon as the whistle was blown. He didn't start his run up. There was the extra couple of breaths there. So
No breasts.
yeah, no, definitely none of them. Yeah, it was a little bit of England technique there for Watkins, I thought, and it went in at the end of the day.
Yep, and everything feels good at 2-0 up, but it for sure feels even better at 3-0 up. And I think people are hard on Matty Cash. I honestly think Villa are better when Matty Cash is in the team. Blake Woodward said earlier that Matty Cash is essential for this team. There's just a nice little balance to the team last night. I think Cash tucked in when he needed to. When he went forward, Kamara would kind of sit back a little bit and make that back three that we saw so much last season. I actually think he's a way more intelligent footballer, Matty Cash, than he gets credit for. And him and Luca Dean at fullback, both pretty consistent for me, which is what you want from your fullbacks. You want reliability and you want consistency, and that's how I feel when those two play. He scored a fair few goals actually in his Villa career, Matty Cash. Been a while since he did score. I think it must have been in I think he scored in the Conference League, didn't he, in the quarters against Lille, if my memory serves me correctly. Yes. From range. First Premier League goal for a while from Matty Cash, and the Steven Gerrard kiss the camera celebration as well, Dave.
I can only really echo what you said there about Matty Cash. I think he's an excellent player within that Villa system. I think he's played different roles as well. He's played the tucked in right back. He's played the flying right back. He's played right wing to varying degrees of success, you must say, in that right wing position. But I think he's really good for that for the Unai Emery system. I thought he was excellent last night up against some really tricky players as well. Kevin Schade got pace to burn. Damsgaard, Keane Lewis Potter trying to overload on that side as well, and I thought he handled it excellently and capped it off with a goal as well. So I'm really pleased for him. Great celebration. Hopefully he just needs a run of games because he's struggled a little bit with injury, and it's never easy coming in and out of the team when you're struggling for fitness. So if he can stay fit and get a run of games, hopefully we see the best of Matty Cash, because I thought we saw it last night.
Yeah, top bit of punditry here from Jonathan Ridgway. Matty Cash, top Polish scorer in the Prem. Can't think of another Polish player off the top of my head in the Premier League at the moment, can you?
Bednarek. That's the one I can think of.
Former Villa great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of too many more though.
No.
Fabianski, obviously, but he's probably not gonna be troubling the score sheet anytime soon. Yeah, struggling for Poles in the Premier League at the moment. So 3-0 at half time. Brilliant. We played some nice football as well. I was really happy with how we played in that first half. Felt much more like Villa. And actually in the second half as well, I thought we played some really nice stuff. Probably should have scored more. We had quite a lot of other chances. Chad Lavelle, Kivior as well, yes. Probably one of the more famous Polish players in the Premier League at the moment. But I digress. Yes, I played really well. Unlucky not to score more. The only blot on our copybook last night was probably conceding, Dave. But we're just not destined to keep too many clean sheets in the Premier League, aren't we? But last night was more like the Villa of old, but it didn't matter because you scored 3 anyway.
Yeah, and if the game had been closer, it's difficult to know how more clinical Villa would have been if the score would have been closer. Maybe they would have taken more care with the chances that they created, but Villa created more than enough to win that game last night. It would have been a travesty if Brentford had managed to get back into that game, because it was only for Flecken that the score didn't run away. So
you say that, but I know he made some saves, but he looked bloody suspect at times as well. Flecken, goalkeeper, I'm not sure about.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think he's a good level for Brentford. It's difficult
Definitely
to upgrade, isn't it?
Brentford, you are, Dave.
I like Brentford. I think they're a great club. They're a great club.
You won't go for it. You won't take the bait from me today, will you? At
all? So yeah, I mean, I think the scoreline reflected the game. I would say, Villa did more than enough to win that game. Maybe they would have been more clinical if the scoreline would have been closer. I think there was more than enough in that game for Villa to win it.
Yeah, and Emery took the opportunity as well to make some subs and give people minutes, rest people. Obviously, John Duran came, and I've got to say, actually, a few people have said it echoed what I'm about to say in the chat as well. We've got Chad Lavelle saying Duran had a great cameo yesterday outside of his poor yellow card, made great runs and helped defend where he could. David Styles, a word I thought I'd never use with Duran, disciplined aside from his first 30 seconds. I thought it was a great performance when he came on. I thought exactly the same. I thought John Duran was really good last night when he came on. Unlucky not to score. Could have had a couple of goals. And I've probably said it to you previously, I feel like Duran doesn't do a lot of the things that Watkins does in terms of leading the line. What I saw last night, I did actually think when he came on, he did do a lot of those things. I was really, really impressed with John Duran when he came on.
Yeah, he had a good time when he came on. I think it was 17 seconds between him coming on and getting a booking, which caused a good chuckle. But yeah, but the thing is, Unai Emery demands that discipline, and if he's not shown it, then his minutes are going to reduce. So Unai Emery demands that kind of discipline. And when he's come on before, it's almost, we've not seen too many times recently where it's been the like for like Watkins, Duran. And I think when he's alongside Watkins and he's come on, his role is slightly different and he has to do different things. But I think when he comes on as the front man, he knows that it's his responsibility to do the things that Watkins did. So I think from his point of view, it was a really positive performance coming off the bench for him.
Yeah, and then obviously that leads us to Saturday now. Obviously, we're going to do a preview, of course, tomorrow morning. Looking forward to the Southampton game. Southampton got pumped by Chelsea last night 5-1. Obviously, Stevens is going to be suspended for our game as well. They actually made quite a lot of changes, didn't they, Southampton? As if they'd almost I've got the hiccup, sorry. As if they'd almost not written it off, but it felt like they didn't feel like they had much chance of beating Chelsea. But they're coming to Villa Park a little bit fragile now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of injuries as well. And then when you've got a centre-back like Jack Stevens doing stupid things like that, I mean, it doesn't help your cause. I think he's been sent off. I think he got sent off against Manchester United as well, from memory, for a ridiculous challenge. So when you're doing things like that to yourself, I think it's difficult to win games in the Premier League. I thought I didn't see the Southampton-Chelsea game, but from what I'd seen, from what I'd heard, Southampton played quite well in parts. But the red card just kills the game for them. So I think, Villa will be looking at that game for back-to-back victories, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout to Leon Bailey last night as well. I thought in the first half, Villa's kind of more like the front players. I'm talking about Bailey, Watkins, McGinn and Rodgers here. Brentford was surprisingly open, actually. I've got to say there was a lot more space to operate in than I thought there would be in transition last night for Villa. I thought Brentford would be a bit more sure in transition, but those players really hurt Brentford with their ball carrying, and Bailey was a big part of that. I really enjoyed his performance last night, and honestly, I've said it for a few weeks now. I do think he's building, Leon Bailey. I do think something's going to happen soon. He just needs to get that goal. If he can get a goal, I think he's going to start flying again like he did last season, because the last few games, I've seen more like the Leon Bailey I remember from last season, and I thought he was good last night, Dave.
Yeah, again, we've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, really, that he's building and building. I thought there were flashes and moments, and the Brentford left side has had a few injury problems, and Lewis Potter isn't a natural defender, but
no,
he was the one playing there. But he managed to get at Pinnock a couple of times. I think from Brentford's point of view, I think they've tried to develop this season into a team that wants to dominate the ball a little bit more. They're trying to develop into that top 10 Premier League side, and they tried to be a little bit more expansive against Villa last night, sensing perhaps that there was a bit of fragility about Villa. And unfortunately for them, it didn't pay off. But I thought Bailey was another solid performance again. And he is building. I think he's getting that confidence back, and you just hope it's now a matter of time before we see that Bailey that we saw last season.
Yeah, another player that's building as well is Berber. He's starting to get minutes under his belt, which is good. He's not played 90 yet, but I think they're managing him in the right way. Boubacar Kamara, and he's a pivotal player. If he can just get a run of games as well, I think we'll be fundamentally a better side and more secure. I believe we can get the league table up, Dave. Let's see how the Adam
real test for you here, mate,
on this occasion. Yeah, it's more a test for Bates' technology rather than me, so it's not looking good. Oh, here we go. It is looking good. Is this the right table as well? I believe it is. Villa up to 7th now. Goal difference still at -1, 22 points, but a point off Brighton in 5th. Brighton, of course, play this evening, but that feels a lot better. And you think with the game coming up at the weekend as well, Dave, against Southampton, who are struggling, it's a real chance for back-to-backs, and that is ultimately what gets you up the Premier League table, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's still so congested there. 6 points. To second and third for Villa, so there's still plenty of time to get up that table. The good thing is that the poor run that Villa have been on, it's not damaged the overall season. So I think that's a real positive for Villa, and the table is still so congested that there is still an opportunity to climb the table very quickly.
You may have seen a little mistake from me there if you're watching via via YouTube. I thought that was going to be our next 5 fixtures, but unfortunately, it was just the Champions League fixtures. So some work to do for me on the production side of things, which I can only apologise for. Right, David, it's been a pleasure to speak to you this afternoon, and of course, I'll be speaking to you again tomorrow. Dave and I are planning a 9 a.m. show tomorrow morning previewing the Southampton game. So if you want to watch that, tune in. And if you want to know exactly when it goes live, do subscribe with your post notifications on. Leave us a comment as well with your thoughts on the game last night. There's some great comments in the chat as well, which I've tried to integrate into the show. Give the video a like. Let's try and get 300 likes if we can. If you're listening via audio, leave us a nice review, please. That would be really, really helpful to us. And 5 stars if you've got the option to do that on your preferred audio platform as well. That kind of thing helps us appear in places that we wouldn't normally appear. Right then, Dave's off to do some real work now for Sky Sports News. Where is it you're going this evening, David?
I'll be watching Fulham against Brighton tonight.
Yeah, Villa's, of course, Champions League rivals. Brighton, category A. Is that category A game for Fulham? I don't know, but it's certainly now a category A game for Villa. So we've seen. So I think that'll be a good game. Two good footballing teams. Two of the better sides to watch in the Premier League in terms of the football they play. Actually, though. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Brighton are on a good run at the moment. Obviously, they drew with Southampton, but I think they're, the manager, I think, is someone who I'm really interested in seeing a little bit more up close tonight. So see how he sets up his team. And Fulham, I think they've got a Fulham team full of talent this season. I'm kind of, I know I've said previously, I think they will revert towards mid-table, but the longer it goes on, I feel like, and I don't know whether people saw the game against Spurs, but they were excellent and should have won that game. They should have won that game. So yeah, like the look of Fulham as well. So it should be entertaining.
Yeah, right. So if you want to see Dave on the real teller, Sky Sports News this afternoon, Dave will be doing a couple of updates and he'll be at the game this evening. Right, thank you ever so much to those that have joined us live again. Really, really appreciate it. Get yourself some Luke clothes, TVV20, and you'll save yourself some money. We'll see you in the morning. Only one thing left to say, a big fat up the Aston Villa.